Hey Zen fam! Something a little bit different today. No gameplay behind me. So, Simon, I won't need to actually put in a small version of me in the corner, second version of the video, hidden in the descriptions for you, Mr. Tree. So you'll be fine with this as it is. It's just flames licking behind me. Today I want to do something a little bit different. I want to take you through my thought processes when thinking about particular issues. And two come to mind at the moment. One is obviously 9th gen I mean. Right, so we've got PS5. Okay? So that's PS5 right there. Down here, we'll put game stop. Okay? GameStop. So that's the the American game chain that we keep hearing about being in so much trouble. And how these two things link together. Right, so from PlayStation 5, okay, at the moment we're thinking what's going to be in PlayStation 5. So we're thinking frames per second, okay? We're thinking 4K, okay? We're talking about possible disklessness. Alright, so possible disklessness. We're talking about streaming. Well, game streaming. So, game streaming. Okay, possible game streaming. Right, so addendum Netflix like. Netflix like in brackets, or if you're American, parentheses. We're also talking, of course, the future version of PlayStation VR, so PSVR slash PSVR 2. And we're running out of space here, so PSVR slash PSVR 2. Okay. And then, of course, we've got, so that's all happening, Then we're thinking, well, what the game's going to be on. Are they still going to be on Blu-ray, or are they going to be in another format? So, Blu-ray slash other. Okay. Question mark. Well, admittedly, this is all question mark, but, it's all question marks, let's be fair. Right, so far we've got PlayStation 5, frames per second, 4K, disklessness, streaming your games, PSVR, PSVR 2, other formats apart from Blu-ray or Blu-ray itself, but we've discussed in the past how Blu-ray might not be big enough for these new games. In fact, it probably isn't, And when I said about the game streaming, a Netflix-like service. So underline that. That's the main bullet point of what most people are considering when it comes to the future, i.e. PlayStation 5. So I'll line under that now. Let's talk about the things that most people aren't talking about when it comes to PlayStation 5. Right? Oh, hang on, there is one thing I forgot. Dual Shock 5. So, put that there because we're going to come back to that in a way. So, DualShock 5. Question mark. Okay, so DualShock 5 question mark. But that's in a separate little box inside there because that's kind of got my brain spinning. Because there's going to be different things happening with that alone that will matter to this down here. Okay, so aside from the main stuff, we've got little things coming along like our headsets. Whether we have a gold headset or a platinum headset like I do, how long are they viable? So headsets. First party. So headsets first party, okay? How is that gonna pan out? It's all it's a bit up in the air, isn't it? So you get your first party headsets, so plat / gold. Now, when PlayStation 4 first came out, you couldn't at first use the original PlayStation Pulse headset. And then a few months later, they finally got it together because they saw that everybody hated the earpiece. And then they added a firmware that let you actually use it. But it was always a bit janky. Now, considering that the Platinum headset set me back, I think it was like about 120, maybe 140 quid. That, no way am I coughing up again. I think a lot of users would not want to cough up again. So, I think it's got to be the case that that puppy there, right, has to stick around. It has to be usable for the next generation of console. At least for the first 2 years. Okay? Then release another headset that's even nicer. But you have to give us a breathing room, Sony, to buy that. Right? And we'll be buying those from GameSpot or Game or EB Games or wherever you are in the world that has a game store service. Right? If indeed this still exists, which is something I'm coming to. Okay? So you got your first party headset. Then you've got the controller. Okay, so pad. Now we've been speaking about the DualShock 5. So we'll link this together. Okay. So we got that there. So we got the pad. Alright. What's the pad going to have? Is it going to still have a touchpad? Because if we do have backwards compatibility, oops, hang on, BC. Definite question mark on that. So backwards compatibility, which I'm going to come back to again as well. Okay. So we have the pad. Will it have a touchpad? We'll have a touchpad because there are touch things in the games. Not all of the games, but a lot of the games. Okay? So we've got touch things in some of the games. That's just a factor of life. Okay? Then we've got to talk, hang on. Battery life. Okay? Battery life is a big, big concern. Alright? So we've got your battery life. And I think one of the things we need on side of that is we need wireless charging. So wireless charging, okay? And that's just the gamepad alone. Never mind faster response and blah 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 blah. So that's just the gamepad, alright? So put a line under that to keep this separate, put a line under that to keep that separate. Now we're talking about backwards compatibility. So we'll do a wiggly line. Right, so backwards compatibility. So that could at least hopefully mean PS4. Hopefully, it'd be nice if there was, PS3. Could we get PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1? Is it worth it? But we'll put them in anyway. So PS2 and PS1. Okay. Are those still worth it? Do we still want to play those games? Now yes, there is a retro market, but is that retro market strong enough? Considering as we go on, there are less and less people who remember these titles. We're getting more and more gamers coming through who are younger and younger, who may not care about these. They might care about PS3, but there's no guarantees about that. So, another reason why I want PS3 backwards compatibility, or at least I would like it, what I would like them to do with that BC is have the backwards compatibility from the PlayStation Plus games. So the games I've got from PlayStation Plus on PS3 in my library, if I've got the backwards compatibility for PS3, I would like to be able to play them as well. And that would definitely be a system seller, right? If you know that you open the box and you can instantly play all the games you ever bought on PlayStation Plus, bought because you pay for the service, they would be available to you from day one. Think about that. Day one, all the PlayStation Plus games you ever bought, boom. Obviously not the Vita ones, because although we may have a touchpad, it's not going to be the same as the touch on the Vita. So we're not talking about the Vita. Love the Vita, but we're not talking about that, because that would just bring up, I need a bigger board. Okay, so let's go through it. PS5, we've got frames per second, PSVR, PSVR 2, DualShock 5, 4K, Blu-ray, and other. We've got disklessness, we've got backwards compatibility, we've got game streaming, a Netflix-like service, you've got your first-party headsets, right? All that happiness, okay? And then we also have to wonder, is 4K going to be a thing, really? Because how many of you out there really have a 4K television? And how many people do you know have a 4K television? In fact, how many gamers do you know have a 4K television? So think about that. Is it really worth, going for 4K? Yes. Now, frames per second, definitely up for that. But is 4K really that important? We have to consider this. Now bear in mind, the more things we shove into this box, the more money is going to go up. Okay? So more means pounds, dollars, yen, euro, whatever you want to call it. It all means more. Okay? Now, with all that, okay, all this filters down to to GameSpot. Now, GameSpot I'm wanting to put on here particularly because we all know that GameSpot is in trouble, and could very well close. Now, what is going to keep GameSpot open for the next wee while is the 9th gen. So, so we got your next box and PS5. Alright, so next box and PS5, keep this going. Okay, exclamation point, because hey, I could be wrong. So PS5 and the Xbox will help to keep GameSpot going for a while. Now what GameSpot is relying on, they're relying on sales. Now first of all, they're relying on, hang on, let's draw a line under all this. Okay, they're relying on sales of hardware. Hardware, that's the big one. That's the big one. Hardware. I'll underline the underline. Okay, hardware is the big one. Then, to keep things rolling after that, if we don't go diskless, or we, as I've proposed in previous videos, have a system where we have no disk and disk, have two SKUs but with different sizes of hard drive to keep the price the same, then obviously they've got to be selling games. So games, yeah, I'm making a mess of that. So games, alright? So they've got to sell games, they've got to sell peripherals. So pads and such. I don't know why I turned that C into an E. Anyway, so pads and such, okay? That's a thing. Subscription services, PlayStation Plus, Games with Gold, okay? Subscriptions. Okay, subscriptions, fair enough. What else do we need? Now we need, let's see, subscriptions. We've got peripherals, so that's pads, headsets later down the road. We got your, the insurance. That's a thing, but that generally it's sold by game stores, but generally it's handled by third parties. But insurance is important because you never know when your system is going to go. So we'll put insurance in here, but in small. Insurance question mark. Okay. In fact, we'll put that as an interrobang. Okay. If you don't know what an interrobang is, an interrobang is basically an exclamation mark and a question mark together. It's a neat little sort of thing of the English language that not many people know about and should do. Anyway, so we got these things hopefully holding GameStop together in sales, but forcing GameStop out and also giving us this stuff. You've got online retailers, like Amazon, online shops. There we go. So you've got online stores, fighting this. You've got the big supermarkets and the big electronic stores, over here we've got like Curry's. I know in the States you've got like Best Buy, so big physical stores. So big brick and mortar stores. Brick and mortar stores. So the big brick and mortar stores pushing up the little stores like GameSpot, EB Games and Game. Okay, so they're a problem. You've got your online retailers, they're a problem. Then you've also got the idea that it costs a lot to make systems and there is a recession on right now. People don't have as much money. And here's where it kicks off, right? So the States itself, Donald Trump's making a right mess of everything, so their economy is in the toilet. So, economy in LAV, okay, US, and UK. You're saying, hang on, why are you saying UK, Zenblock? I'll tell you why I'm saying UK. Because of sodding Brexit. Okay, so Brexit. Because whether Brexit is a success or a failure, alright, there is already proven to be instability in the markets, right? And what do the markets run? Money. Okay, so we've got an instability from Brexit on the markets, which affects people's jobs and affects how much money is able to be spent and how much the money is worth. Okay, so if the exchange rate is fiddled with that much, the value of the pound and the value of the dollar may drop, thus making the systems more expensive because you have to spend more to get them. Okay, because these items, will be pricey. Now that's the other thing. What price are we talking? And this matters to both this bracket and this bracket. How much are we looking at? Now I personally think it's going to be round about 500 quid. Oops. So 500 quid. Alright? Now that's my personal thought. But a lot of people were like, well hang on, they wanted 600 quid initially for the PlayStation 3 and nobody was prepared to wear that, and that's why the PlayStation 4 was so much cheaper. True. But money doesn't stretch us. The value of money is different now. I mean, we consider how much you would pay for games given the rate of inflation, right? If you bought a game from the 1980s, if you bought that now at today's levels of inflation for what it was worth then, it would set you back 80, 100, 120 quid. So how much of a factor really is this? And not only that, how much If that is what the system itself costs, what's the pad going to cost? What are the games going to cost? Considering that if the games come out, as I've said before, I don't think they can be on Blu-ray. I think there's going to have to be another format, or it's going to have to be like 2 Blu-rays or something, which means disc swapping, which is another headache in itself, which is probably one of the things that's going to push through disclessness. Which also means that people who live in poor internet areas, are going to feel it. And then on top of that, those people who want to get discless, may have to pump out for better internet, because internet costs money. So yes, we've got 5G coming along, but that's not necessarily mattering to home networks, to your internet service you get in your house. So yeah, so you got the internet to worry about. So internet costs. So as you start to work it through, it gets really complicated. I mean, I could keep filling this board all day long. In fact, probably have to go and get another board and another board and another board. But you see, once you start to actually all think it through, it just gets ridiculous. It gets crazy. It gets too complicated. And that's why this video is stretched well into 20 minutes. Because there's just so much. And I could say more and more and more. So please, everybody out there, when you see videos going, I think this is what PlayStation 5 is going to do. These are the leaks I've got. Try and bear all this in mind. Okay, guys? This is a public service announcement from Zen Bro. Bear this lot in mind, okay? Look. Okay? Bear this lot in mind. It's going to get crazy out there, guys. It's going to get real crazy. Alright? Trust Zenblock on this. I've been here, I've done this. I'm 44. I've been through several console launches now. Alright? It's never done till it's done. Even at the end of a generation, it still takes a little bit of time to get all the facts and the figures out of it. Will PlayStation 5 outsell Xbox? Will Xbox outsell PlayStation 5? I don't know. And fundamentally, it doesn't matter. What matters, when you get right down to it, is you and me, the gamer, and the games. That is what truly matters at the end of the day. Not all this malarkey. This does matter to a certain extent, because it's what happens with our money and our interest and our time. But when you get right down to it, it's about you and me, the gamer. It's very, it's like, you can boil all of this down, but you have to remember to keep this in mind. Okay? Now hopefully you found this instructive, this near half-hour video. So, I'm tired. I've only just had breakfast. I wanted to make this video last night, but I kind of got playing games. I'm a gamer! What do you want? Okay guys, so you know the drill. Rate, favourite, comment, share, subscribe. And of course, as always, aye, nae bother.